What's up, everybody? It is your host of the Mentee Podcast, Wyatt Graves. Today's conversation is one of my absolute favorite conversations that I've ever had on the show, because I think the nature of the conversation, which really took a personal turn, underscores the actual purpose of this show, which is to give you a front row seat to the behind the scenes journey of me, a father, a husband, and a highly driven entrepreneur. The whole purpose of this show is so that you can be mentored through my experiences, so that I can be available for you to show you how I'm doing it, so that you might learn how you choose to do it and either learn from my mistakes and or learn from my successes. Today's conversation is with a great friend of mine that I met back in 2019. He was the facilitator of a couples retreat that my wife, Janae, and I attended in Colorado through GoBundance. And from the moment we stepped foot in that conference room, which was a small, intimate conference room, we only had, I think, 12 couples at the couples retreat. There was a connection with this guy. It's Dr. Kelly Flanagan. He is a marriage coach and an entrepreneur himself. Janae and I both really connected with him. And then we've been through several iterations of coaching with him as we work towards a goal that we have for our own relationship. Kelly was on my show when I started the Mentee, ever how many years ago that was, soon after that couples retreat. And then I haven't had him back on the show since. And I wanted to give you all an update of the work that we've been doing and that I've been doing and where we're at with the constant evolution of who I need to be to achieve the results that I'm seeking. What I didn't realize is that the show would actually become so personal that we would share some of the experiences that I have both at home and at work in relationships and helping to solve people's problems in an effort to solve my problem. Dr. Kelly Flanagan is a master at relationships and speaking to the heart and the core of what's really going on that we may not otherwise know. And so we get into that in our conversation today. And I'll say this, which I say in the episode, that which is most personal is also most universal. With that being said, the degree of personal content that we talk about today must mean that this is going to have a profound impact on you as well. It's universal. So with that, let's get into my conversation today with Dr. Kelly Flanagan. Dr. Kelly, I am so fired up to be able to reconnect with you today. I think it's been probably 3 or 4 years since the first time you came on the Mentee.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right. It's so good to be back.
Yeah, I'm fired up, man. And look, I'm going to get right to it. I know that we have not officially connected in some time. You sent your media kit to me for some work that we're going to possibly work on and explore in the future. And I was looking at the title to your new book. And it's okay if I say the title of the new book. Yeah. The title of the book is The Road Less Triggered.
The Road Less Triggered. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So I looked in the media kit and I saw the title of your new book, which I didn't know that you were writing a new book. I certainly didn't know the title. When I saw it, I'm like, wow, this is serendipitous. So the title of this book is The Road Less Triggered.
Yes.
And you won't believe it. Maybe you will believe it, but that was part of the topic that I wanted to talk about today.
I believe it. I believe it. These things, there's a serendipity to these things, isn't there?
It gives me the chills because you know Gabby, that's in my world, right? You met her at the mastermind retreat we did in February of 2020 or April of 2023.
Yep.
She and I have an extensive text thread about the trigger and the splinter.
Ooh.
So is the trigger, right? Whose fault is the trigger? Is it the person that triggered me, or did the person that triggered me, are they really just rubbing up against a splinter that's never been removed from my skin, and they exposed that pain, but I was unaware of it, so I think it's them, but it's really me.
Let's go.
We have such I mean, if I could share with you the thread, this is like 2 weeks old.
Yeah.
And reason I bring that up is because for the listeners that have been a longtime listener of the show, I can't remember if you were my first or second guest when I took over the Mentee podcast, but you were either one or number two. And the whole premise of this show is that this is a front row seat to the behind the scenes journey of me, which I am a father, I am a husband, and I am a highly driven entrepreneur with big goals, right? Building a big business, and I want to have a massive impact. And along the same time that I met you and was exposed to your work, I also met somebody else, Ben Hardy, and I've read all of his books. And one of his books is 10X is Easier Than 2X.
Great book.
And the premise of this trigger and that book, my life, my goals, is that I'm a highly relational person. Like I really am aware of the desire for connections with my wife, my kids, the people that are in my circle. And I am on a journey to 10X, and it seems like it's a relentless journey. So just as soon as I 10X, I want to 10X again.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as I 10X again, I want to 10X again. And Ben says that to 10X your world, you have to change 80% of who you are. And then I go a little bit further and I say that I am what I do. So if I have to change 80% of what I do or who I am, then I have to change 80% of what I do. And as I change rapidly what I do, what I focus on, there's a lot of relationship, I don't know what the right word is, maybe collateral that I have to manage.
Collateral damage, so to speak.
Collateral damage to the relationships, especially those that aren't ready or maybe who don't desire to change as much and or as aggressive as I do.
Sure.
And in this journey of rapidly changing who I am, what I'm doing as I evolve to become the leader I need to be to achieve the results that I'm seeking, what I know is that I have this programming that's running in the back of my mind. And the programming leads to beliefs, right, which lead to feelings, which then could ultimately, as I'm engaging with the workplace, lead to me being triggered. Or when I go home after being in a stressful, highly, active, intense workday, making lots of decisions with big consequences. Like when I go home, I have an expectation, and if I don't have that expectation met, then I'm triggered. And I think
there's probably plenty of people listening who can relate to that, right?
Probably so, right? Probably so. I've learned from you and other people that that which is most personal is most universal.
Right on. Yes.
So with that being said, when I read this, and Gabby and I have been talking about being triggered and how do you do that, right? The awareness of the splinter, and then what do I do to find the splinter? So I'm just going to open it up. Like, where should we start?
Well, I love where you've started. I think we can go from there. One of the questions I'll just sort of take and put on the shelf for a minute is who's responsible for the trigger, because I do think that's a pivotal question. And it's a question that we want to come back to. But I just think, first of all, you and Gabby having that willingness to slow down and to start to sort of inspect and interrogate your triggers is absolutely the crucial first step. One of the metaphors that comes to mind here is that I've come to believe that our triggers are like an X on a treasure map, right? But most of us, when we come across that X on the treasure map, we try to wipe it out of the dirt in the ground and try to never come back to that spot ever again, only to discover a little ways down the road, there's another X. We're triggered again. I mean, get rid of that. How do we never have another X, right? In fact, that's how a lot of traditional couples counseling is done, is you try to help couples figure out ways of communicating so that they avoid their triggers and never have to go through that again. So I think that mindset of avoiding our triggers actually interferes with our ability to engage with them in transformative ways. You think about an X on a treasure map. What do you do when you find an X on a treasure map? You stop and you start digging, because there's treasure underneath that, right? There's treasure underneath our triggers if we can start digging into them. And so that's really become the sort of organizing concept of the work I do personally, of the work that I do professionally with individuals and couples, is let's start to value those triggered moments as the singular moment in your life where most of your personal growth and your relational sort of growth is going to happen.
So what I hear you saying is that it's not about eliminating the trigger, but it's about integrating it. Because I asked you, my first question was based on, how do I eliminate the trigger? Yes. I want to dig the splinter out, right, get rid of it, and it go away. Is that even possible?
So I do believe the splinters can heal over time. They can be dug out. Some splinters just find their way and they nestle their way into a comfortable spot within us, and they exist there. We just discovered my son was in a biking accident and he thought he broke his elbow, and they went in for an x-ray and they said, there's a bone chip floating around in your elbow. You need to go see a specialist. He went to the specialist. Specialist is like, no, that's a former injury. There's already muscle grown around that. The chip just found its way into a place where the elbow can function really well. Right?
Wow.
So, but I do think when the very first mentality that we bring to a triggered moment is, I want to get rid of this, I think it is really hard to slow down and dig into it. I think, I shouldn't say that. I think digging into it in a way that's productive becomes difficult. There's a certain urgency, desperation, sort of doing energy that starts to take over us when we want to get rid of something. And what I've done and what I lay out in this book is a sort of like a 3-stage process for approaching our triggered moments differently so that we actually do heal. And the first 2 stages are almost entirely about being energy, not doing energy. Learning how to own your response by watching what's happening within you, and then making that pivot to explore what's the experience that's going on inside of me. And so that requires a lot of presence and being energy. And if our urgency is saying, let's just do something to this so we can get it out of us and move on, you're not going to be able to hold that space for that moment for yourself.
And that doing energy kind of reminds me of the defense mechanism that we created the very moment we encountered the splinter, or another version of that splinter, which goes back to programming. That's right.
Yeah. The second step in phase 1 there, owning your response, is disrupting your defenses, right? I think it was Michael Singer who said, well, he probably is paraphrasing plenty of people, but he said, if you want to know why you do something, don't do it, and then watch what happens inside of you, right? And so a significant part of it is, number one, and we can go into this deeper if you want, is being able to create a powerful pause so that you can watch your defenses starting to rise up in you rather than having you acting out on them before you even realize what's happening. So we create a pause, and then we watch those defenses instead of wielding those defenses. And now we are way down the road toward doing something different already. But that requires a lot of presence and being, and not so much doing. It's actually the opposite of doing energy. It's don't do anything for a second. When we're triggered, what do? We do something.
Yeah, we do something about it.
Don't do it. What does it look like to not do it and be present to it?
It's hard.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
So, all this is sort of, I'm asking these questions. We've coached many sessions together with me, Janae, and conferences and retreats. And I love all this because I believe in it. And I think that it's necessary for me to advance my own mission, right? The mission that I'm on in this life that I have. And so all of this is we have these conversations because I am in pursuit of something. And I think this is what's necessary to unlock those results. I am very driven. I have really big goals that require unusual behaviors, right? Unusual tenacity, unusual focus, more work hours, especially on the heels of programming, right? That says, we should only work 30 to 40 hours a week, especially whenever you're 44 and considered successful. Why are you working more hours now? Mm-hmm. And so it's this constant pressure, especially, you know what I'll tell you, this is a little squirrel that we might come back to, but Chat GPT and AI.
Yep.
I have subscribed to Jeff Woods' AI Mastermind.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all about Jeff.
Yep, Jeff's
and
great.
what he promotes. So I'm a part of that mastermind. And so he's created a collective of very highly successful CEOs and C-suite leaders who are leveraging or wanting to leverage AI to grow their companies. So we're in rooms with people that are running billion-dollar companies now, and they want to scale, right? They want to scale their $3.2 billion company. So it's amazing. It's fascinating. But in terms of a pressure cooker, when you put your business plan inside of AI and you ask it to poke the holes in it, right? It's even like a coach. I mean, in a coaching relationship, I have spent 1 hour a week at most, right? In most coaching relationships, it was 1 hour every 2 weeks. So it would take me a whole year to get to 26 hours of coaching. And 26 hours of coaching is revealing my blind spots. I can have all of my blind spots revealed to me in a matter of 5 minutes. You want to insult somebody's ego, right? Show them 1 year's worth of blind spots all at one time.
Right.
And then I can see where I'm missing the mark. And then it sends like this desire that I have to have success and to grow and to scale. It accelerates that to the nth degree, and it's only for me. So it's not the people around me that may have a higher degree of certainty, a higher degree for stability. And I'm ready to rip something apart, close it, open a new, whatever, right? Pivot, let's just go. And so then whenever there's that creative abrasion or there's that disagreement or that question to slow, I'm triggered. Well, what do you mean we have to slow down? What do you mean we have to have this answer? Right. And so it seems like in this pressure cooker environment that AI has caused me, I have to be a lot more aware of triggers, programming. And in that, it brings me to the ultimate question that I wanted to ask, which is, can people get splinters in adulthood? Or are we really addressing splinters that were there? Like, can I cause a splinter to be put into somebody that's 44 years old or 30 or 50? Or am I the trigger to a splinter that they had before they had the cognitive ability to cope with whatever it was?
Fantastic question. No one's ever asked it that way before. I'd say the answer is yes, you can, but there's a huge caveat. So, and in a way, we have to get into the nature of pain and trauma to talk about it. This is what I'd say. I say that trauma is any pain we weren't able to handle when it was happening. So trauma is any pain that when it happened, we trapped it inside of us. We said, this is too much. I don't feel safe enough. I don't feel the capacity to feel the pain of this experience. And so we transform our trauma back into pain when we allow ourselves to finally feel it, right? When we actually let those feelings move through us and out of us and sort of flush them out. So that's how I define trauma and pain. What you're saying is one of the reasons so many of our splinters are related to the past is because we didn't have defenses to protect us from people putting pain into us, right? And so the pain got in, and if we felt it, then it moved through us and we didn't hold on to much of it. But if we didn't feel safe enough for whatever reason, or we didn't have the capacity to feel it at the time, we sort of blocked it. And now we carry it around inside of us as a splinter, right? Can you do something? So here's the difference. In adulthood, we've mostly formed our protections. We've mostly formed our defenses. So it's a lot harder for people to put pain inside of us. It's a lot easier.
I mean, that's what I suppose.
Right.
That's why I'm asking.
It's a lot easier to be in conflict. It's a lot easier to be, disconnected and aggressive and all those things and hidden, and because those are our protections. But because generally speaking, we've gotten good at protecting ourselves, it's a lot harder for people to put pain into us in adulthood. It's not impossible. We can do incredibly dramatic things that get past people's defenses, or people can come to really trust us and let their defenses down, and then we can put pain in them. Right. But it is a rarer experience in adulthood. And so, I think I hear the question under your question, which is, when I'm triggering people in my life, is that really me triggering them, or is that just their past pain they haven't dealt with?
That's my question.
That's the question, right?
That's my question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And am I triggering them because they have the splinter, or am I putting the splinter in them?
Yes.
Right. Where's my responsibility in that? Because I don't take that lightly.
Yes. Yep. Someone once said to me, like, I didn't create her baggage, right? It wasn't my fault. And then my answer was, no, but you can still help her carry it, and so there's multiple layers to sort of our responsibility to each other in relationship. If we know someone has a particular kind of splinter, do we operate in relationship with a sensitivity to their splinter and how easily it can be bumped up against? When it is bumped up against, are we willing to see the pain beneath their protections? Right? Are we willing to see with compassion that this is their splinter, and I triggered it, and I'm getting blamed for it, which makes me want to defend myself. But I can just hold space for the pain from which this is coming. Did I do something to get past their defenses this time and actually add new pain, throw another splinter in there? That's possible too. So there's a bunch of different levels at which, when we slow down, we can start to ask those questions. But generally speaking, when I'm working with people and when I'm instructing people, I'm saying, don't try to figure all of that out for the other person, right? Pay attention to your own triggers. Pay attention to your own nervous system getting activated, and ask those questions of yourself. And if you do that in a relationship, you'll actually start to show up differently for the other person.
For sure. Hey guys, if you've been a listener of my show for any length of time, you know that I attribute a lot of my growth to learning from the guys inside of GoBundance. If you think that GoBundance is a tribe that you might be interested in joining, then reach out to me. Go to WyattGraves.com, connect with me. I'll reach out personally with you and answer any questions about GoBundance to see if it's the right fit for you. You know Father Richard Rohr.
I sure do.
And so I'm, since I discovered him, I watch his videos often.
Yep.
And so I like to relate to his description of the dance, right? So I'm aware of the dance inside of my own head.
Yeah.
And it's the dance between understanding where I'm at and or maybe triggered, but also my desire as a result of my defense. Maybe my defense is to fix, because I've been in enough coaching calls and situations that sometimes our desire to fix is our coping mechanism, right? It is a result of our trigger.
That's right.
And so I have a big desire to help people live the good life. And to live the good life is, to me, it's to have joy and happiness. And when people are triggered, what I might say easily or seem to be more sensitive than me or than I think is normal, right? Which I understand what's even in that statement.
Yeah.
That I want to help expose them to the fact that there's a splinter, there's a trigger, let's get past it. So I say that to just say, how do we facilitate healing in our everyday conversations? Because the success that I have as a dad, as a husband, as an entrepreneur is going to be largely dependent on my ability to be a transformational leader and help other people get through to the next step, right? So I find myself in these conversations all the time.
Yeah. in the second step of the process that I lay out in the Road Less Triggered, the disrupt your defenses stage that we talked about earlier, I talk about how most mammals on the planet have basically two kinds of defenses: fight or flight, right? Their brainstem gets triggered and they're either going to hide or they're going to fight. But we human beings have this really lovely frontal lobe. And so we also, instead of trying to run from the threat or become a threat, we try to manage the threat. So we become controlling. We become sneaky control. I say we're control sneaks, not control freaks. And entrepreneurs, myself included, have two particularly clever ways of trying to control a moment in which they're triggered. They're very sneaky. One is selling. One is subtly trying to convince the other person to join you in your agenda, right? And your goals and so on and so forth. The second one is mentoring. Mentee podcast, right?
You're triggering me.
I know I am. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why here. I needed to lay this foundation. The second one is mentoring, is trying to say because what's happening there, and this is where I want to go with this. What I think is probably happening for you, because the exact same thing happens to me, is I want to live a joyful and happy life, right? But I'm also a deeply relational person, which means my joy and happiness isn't entirely in my control, it feels like. It's dependent upon the other people in my life not having meltdowns, not regressing, not getting triggered, right? So I think what happens is I want to have a joyful and happy life, so I've got to get you happy in order to be happy, because you're so much a part of my happiness and my vision for happiness. And so I kick into mentor mode. What do I got to do to get you over your thing so you can be happy, so we can be happy? And I think the opportunity there is to slow down and to explore how someone else that you deeply love being in an emotional state that isn't what you want, how and why is that a trigger for us? Right? What makes it hard to just slow down and hold space and go, your sadness, your displeasure, your disappointment can become a part of my good life? Right?
That is.
Are you still triggered, or are you just thinking hard?
I'm thinking hard.
Okay.
I'm thinking hard. I have a desire. My very top value that has been articulated, it is written everywhere that it's written, is authenticity.
Yes. Yep.
Again, there's this dance, and maybe it's not the dance. It's just the observer of me is always there, right? Which sometimes I don't like. I don't like, sometimes I wish the observer would just go away and I could just be, right?
Sure.
But I often wonder where that value comes from, right? It's a desire for me to be authentic so that there is nothing to hide. Why do I care if people think I'm hiding something, right? So there's this underlying fear, maybe, of acceptance or of being truthful, because people, I have stories, right, from upbringing where people that I loved and that loved me, made statements to me that caused me to question what other people would think is my intent.
Right.
And so the trigger from our conversation right now is that you're using the words that I say are my gift.
Yeah.
Right. And so then there's this observer and there's this dance, or it's the whatever, right? That's saying, well, damn, is this the true me? Who is the true me? Am I really a mentor? Or am I doing a mentorship because I'm trying to heal something that I don't even know about? That's where the trigger's coming from.
And this goes back to important conversations from Lovable, that at some point we come to discover we've all got a true self and a false self. Right? The connective self we were born with, our true self, and the protective self that we built to protect us, our false self. But the reality is our false self was built from the best parts of our true self, right? So you have this wonderful, like, soulful desire to help people, right? And to lift people up and to see them rise with you, But inevitably, if you go into protection mode, you're going to use those gifts, those soulful gifts, to protect you, We build our protections out of our strengths, right? And so the question isn't, are you mentoring? It's, why are you mentoring, right? Am I mentoring because I need to get you happy in the next 30 minutes in order to feel like I had a fulfilling night? Or am I mentoring because I'm simply here for whatever you show up with and I want to be a part of it? Right.
That's such a good question. And it brings me back.
Function. Yeah.
Well, it brings me back to what I was thinking hard about, which is my happiness being dependent on your happiness.
Yes.
And so if you're not happy, then I need to get you happy so that I can be happy. And that brings me back to what you talked about at our mastermind in Texas, which I don't remember the levels, but in that chart, you had the performer.
Right. That's right.
And there is an awareness in my mind, and I think awareness is that dance, right? So it's just constantly being aware. Why am I mentoring, right? Why am I mentoring, right? If I take what you just said, right, it puts me back in that dance to constantly heighten my awareness of just gut checking myself, right, to make sure that I'm connected to my true self and my purpose whenever I'm in those situations. But in my job, I'm always performing. Whether it is to solve a financial problem for somebody, to refinance a house, to get them out of a stressful financial situation, and we're buying their house, or we're going to buy a big multifamily project. Is it going to work? Especially if I have an investor and I don't want to lose anybody's money. So there's the added stress of it's not just my money now, it's somebody else's. And there's a desire to turn it off, right? To turn it off and to just, in my mind, the story I'm telling myself is to just be. Like, I don't want to fix them. I don't want to fix a problem. So,
so that's good. Yes.
So I'm thinking hard because you sent me down the road with me and Janae.
Yeah.
And so when I get home, whether it's Baylor, Emmy, Maggie, Janae, like, I don't want to be a problem solver anymore. I don't want to be a performer.
Yes.
And so if they have a problem, if they're whatever, right, then I'm triggered because I want off.
Oh, dude. It's so good, man. It could, and you and I are on parallel paths here. I'm a helper. I'm a problem solver. I want to be useful to people. A lot of my identity, right, is wrapped up in being those things to people. So I think what you're saying is, at one level, you pride yourself on your performance, on your ability to help people and take care of people and get people where they want to go. Yet there's this part of you that's sort of exhausted by the mental activity involved in that. And you'd love to just be able to relax and just be, but you're not quite sure how to do that. So when you walk in the door, you need your people to have no problems in order for you to be. Like, you guys got to be problem free, because if you have a problem, my problem solving for you is immediately going to kick on. And I don't know how to not kick that on when there's an important problem in front of me. So that's really good. The question is, if you were to pause around that moment, your people present you with a problem. And essentially what you're saying is, when I'm triggered, I go into problem solving mode in those situations. What would it look like to not jump into problem solving mode and explore the layer beneath that? When I don't solve this problem for them, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What's the splinter under the skin of that for me?
You know what? God, this is so good. This is so good.
I'm glad it's.
You're gonna sell me another. You're gonna sell me another membership. I need to renew my membership. In that in the words that you were using, I think, the words that came to my mind, and you and I have identified this, which it's also one of my values. I think it's value number 3 or 4. I think it's 4. I'm an adventure seeker. I love adventure.
Sure. Yeah.
And so the word that I wrote, adventure seeker. So I'm seeking adventure when I get home. I'm seeking connection. Right. Yep. So I'm a connection seeker. I'm an adventure seeker. And when you have a problem, I become a problem solver, which disrupts my ability to have adventure and connection because I'm in problem solving mode.
Yeah.
And so the question that I wrote, which this is where I want you to talk to that. And how do I experience adventure and connection in the midst of somebody else having a problem?
Well, I love the clarity that you got to on that. That was awesome. It simplifies it a lot. You walk in the door, you're wanting adventure and connection with your family. Instead, they present you with a problem, right? And so your sort of protective matrix, your protective matrix says, well, we got to get this problem solved for them really quickly so that we can get to the adventure and connection. But by the way, I'm exhausted from solving problems all day, so I don't even want to do it. But I guess I've got to in order to get us to adventure and connection. And the first thing that comes up for me, and it may be, this is my gut instinct, is I think you're saying you want a certain kind of adventure and a certain kind of connection, because theoretically, when our people present us with a problem, just being present to that problem is connection, and just going deeper into that problem is adventure.
Yeah, I don't see it as that.
Yes.
So maybe I am looking for a certain kind.
So So it's like, what kind of a connection and adventure am I preferring? Right. And one of the concepts in this book that we'll be talking about is this concept of open-heartedness and closed-heartedness. And the idea that we open our hearts to the things we prefer and we close our heart to the things we don't prefer. So there's a specific flavor of connection or adventure that you're preferring. And when you walk in the door and you're not getting it, your heart closes to it. And now you're in disconnection. Once your heart's closed, you're in disconnection. And problem solving is your way of trying to get back to connection. If I can solve the problem, then I'll open my heart again, and then we'll be able to do connection and adventure. So just, you can already see how by slowing down around that triggered moment, you're already starting to get more familiar with the nature of the triggers, what it is you prefer and don't prefer, what it is you want and what you're resisting. So there's a lot of self-discovery already happening as you get clearer on what connection and adventure you want.
You know, this has turned really, this is just going to be such a fascinating episode because it is turned so personal.
Can I, why would it be okay if I just joined you in the personal part of that and shared with you the most recent one in our house?
Yes,
okay,
please. Let's make this about you and not me for sure.
I mean, maybe I'm just empathizing a little bit with, I think you put yourself on the hot seat, but I certainly turned up the temperature.
You did. And that's good. This is good. This is great.
I don't know how to not do that. I'm sorry. So this was just 2 nights ago. We are in an exceptionally busy season of our life. My son, I mentioned, just broke his arm. He's home with us for the first time in a while. We thought he lost his cat on the way home. It was a crisis in the family. Right around the same time, my wife was training for a half Ironman and aspirating river water and getting a terrible infection and going to the ER and now not being able to breathe. And so it was Wednesday. She woke up and went to the ER. And found out about the infection, and we had a very busy day. And I was so conscious and intentional about showing up as the best husband and father, just serving and caring in whatever way I could on Wednesday. We got into bed on Wednesday night, and my wife looks at me and she says, "I feel like you weren't there for me today at all."
Oh my God.
Can you feel the trigger?
Oh yeah. I'll just get my happy ass out of this bed then.
I joke in my book, True Companions, about how she once said that to me in the afternoon, something similar to that. And by bedtime, I had drafted up every single thing I'd done all week in detail, like, with fonts and like bullets and everything else. And I presented it to her when we got into bed. It did not go so well. But I got triggered because I have my own sort of unspoken contract with my people, which is I will give you 110%, and I will care for you and serve you as best as I possibly can. And you will approve of me and not reject me. And then everything will be okay. Right. And so I had my splinter of disapproval and rejection triggered in that moment. And I've had enough reps with this now, bringing consciousness to it and presence to it, that I'm like, oh, I see what's happening here. I'm treating her like a vending machine again. I put in all the acts of service today, and she's supposed to spit out approval and acceptance, and she's not doing it, and I don't prefer that. And so I knew a couple things. I knew, number one, I don't respond. No matter how hard it is to not respond, I don't respond. And this is the best I could do on Wednesday night. The best I could do was just feeling the arousal all through my body, because you'll feel it, waist to about your temples, you'll feel it. It was just to feel it and then breathe. And then I'd make these big passive aggressive sighs while we're falling asleep. And to her credit, she didn't bite at any of them. But by morning, I went on a bike ride in the morning intentionally to get away and just clear my head. And boy, by the time I was back from my bike ride, I was so much more tuned into how vulnerable she felt, the idea of not breathing, not being able to breathe. She said, I feel like I was swimming underwater or breathing underwater all day. And the fact that she still went to work and as a therapist cared for everybody else. And the fact that she's got tremendous childhood splinters around not being cared for and having to take care of herself. Like, by the time we actually ran into each other again, I had a tremendous amount of compassion for her, rather than, and compassion is a fundamentally calm, nervous system regulated state. If you're feeling compassion, you're completely regulated. Your heart's completely open. You're back to participating with this person rather than protecting against them. Right. And that just changed the whole vibe of the morning. And I wouldn't say we got over it real quickly, but we got over it 100 times faster than we would have in the past, when I would have ruptured things worse with my defensiveness and triggeredness, right? So anyways, I want you to know, this was just Wednesday night. Folks, we're recording this on Friday afternoon. We're less than 48 hours.
Yeah, this is good.
So, yeah.
There's two things that I want to sort of land the plane with or address before we wrap it up,
Sure.
being aware of time. I am a highly driven, have massive goals entrepreneur, which in and of itself come with lots of risks and uncertainty and unpredictableness in all the ways. And Janae and I are married. I mean, while she's not the entrepreneur, while she doesn't come to my office every day, she's very much susceptible to the consequences of a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Her livelihood, our household, like our future. I don't think I make risky decisions, but to her, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. And so the natural, I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, but like I'm polar opposite, right?
Yep.
Like I'm on the right, she's on the left. While I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the business owner, she's still my wife. We have this mutual level of respect that, we're doing this together. Her name's on a lot of our things.
Yep.
And so a lot of times when I come home, she wants to have some work conversations from what I perceive as a fear-based perspective, which is a lot of times the trigger.
For you.
For me.
When she's in a fearful place.
Yes, because to me, that takes me out of adventure, that takes me out of connection. And the specific kind of connection is happiness, right? Is joy, is laughing, is, if we go about my love language is physical touch, sit on the couch next to me, give me a hug, right? Well, she may have gotten an email, right, that said, hey, what about this staff person, or what about this, this complaint that we got, or whatever it might be. And that's been weighing on her. Probably, to her defense, wanted to text me or call me right away, and she didn't, to allow me the space.
Yeah.
Right.
Good observation.
Waiting. But then when I get home, she's just like biting at the bits.
Sure.
She can't wait because she has a lot more need for certainty, predictableness, and I don't, right? And so I have that expectation. So that's the situation.
Can we dig into that for a second?
Yes.
Because I think you actually both have the exact same needs. You just get it met in different ways. So what you're saying is, I want to come home and I want to play.
Yes.
Right? I want to come home and play.
I want to turn off performing. I want to turn off problem solving, and I want to play. I want to have the life experience that I perceive me working should get me.
Yep. I want to think about children. Children have a singular necessary prerequisite for playing, and that is a sense of safety. If you don't have a sense of safety in your childhood, you can't play and you grow up way too fast, right? So, and this is me personally again, I used to want my people to be happy. I used to want them to be happy with me. That used to be my primary value. My primary value, as I've dug into this concept of being triggered and what it means to become less triggered, is that my primary value is I want to create a sense of safety for my people. Because unless you feel safe, you can't be happy. Unless you feel safe, you can't play. The nervous system won't let you do it. And so what Janae is doing there when you walk in the door, she's saying, make me feel safe. And if you were to do that, I'm not making any guarantees, but the odds of her having the capacity for play and fun will go up dramatically.
That is good.
Now here's the thing. You and Janae get your needs for safety met in very different ways, my guess is. And this is very true for most entrepreneurial couples. In most entrepreneurial couples where the male is the entrepreneur and the wife is not as entrepreneurial, the male feels it's like the entrepreneur has claustrophobia and the spouse has acrophobia, which is fear of heights. The entrepreneur feels unsafe when they're enclosed and caged and controlled, right? The spouse feels unsafe when they're up high and at risk and on adventure, right? And so the needs for safety get met very differently in most entrepreneurial couples. And so you have to be thinking about how you're both seeking a sense of safety, right? You're seeking the sense of safety that comes for you when you can be free and on an adventure.
That's right.
Right. And not caged in and closed. She's seeking safety from being reassured and held up on the cliff at great heights. And so can you walk into the door at the end of the day and create that sense of safety as quickly as possible? And I wouldn't even put it on you to know how to do that, but to say, what do you need to know? And what can I tell you authentically, at least, to help you feel more safe and to calm your nervous system about the situation? And the chances are that if you get to that nervous system neutral state, the potential for play is going to go through the roof for the rest of the night. Now, again, your ego could be sort of trying to use that as a hack and being like, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes to start feeling safe, and then we ought to be able to get back to play. And if you do that, then it's not going to feel safe to her. It's going to feel like you've got an agenda. But if you're genuinely just holding space to help her feel safe, the odds go up pretty good.
Which is the hard part.
That's the hard part. Because
the easy part is okay, got 5 minutes. Here's my bullet point. Let me get my whiteboard out. Yep. Point 1, point 2, point 3, check, and check. You should be good, right? There's the answer. It's like
deciding to do a morning meditation for 10 minutes every morning, and you just sit down and basically like grit your teeth for 10 minutes, then check it off and move on. You didn't really enter into the meditative state. You didn't really enter into presence and being. So if you can really enter in with that regulated nervous system, the willingness to hold space and to increase her sense of safety, things will change.
So this is a great segue to that second point that I wanted to make.
Sure.
Which is whenever you're laying in the bed and you have, you're making the loud sighs and right. Yeah. And not saying anything. And then you go for the bike ride the next day. And of course, your wife didn't say anything either. She's probably managing her own, right? Mm-hmm. Emotions, wanting to, say a few choice words to you. Mm-hmm. I go back to how do we evolve? How do we change? How do we become the people that we want to become? How do we get to the place of that awareness? Mm. And so that goes back to a lot of the principles of this podcast. And it's one of the reasons that I do it. It's one of the reasons that I teach, which is this principle that we grow into the conversations around us. Mm. We become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. And so if we really want to have these deeper connections and success as a father, a husband, as a business owner, then we have to spend time with people who are, is it emotionally regulated? Is it people that are aware of these tips, tools, tricks that will allow us to be aware, to then hold the space
Yeah.
Right. And then practice the
Yep.
things that you teach. Like we have to be around people that read your books, right?
Right.
That listen, that subscribe to this. And so
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
speak to that.
I think people who want to at least go on a little bit of the inner journey, I think are really important. So you can only feel someone else's pain to the extent that you can feel your own. Right. So my capacity to be able to walk in the door after that bike ride and recognize that my wife was in pain, that's why she was going into protection mode. That's dependent upon me first having been able to hold space for my own pain. So when she says you weren't there for me at all and I feel rejection and disapproval, right? Where's that splinter in me? Where does that come from? Can I feel my own painful experience that rises up in that moment? And to the extent to which I can hold space for my own pain, then I'll be able to hold it for hers as well. And so people who are willing to do that, who aren't just rushing past that inner experience and trying to have outer success, but are willing to go on a little bit of that inner journey, hold space for us when we're talking about it, share, be vulnerable about their own sort of inner turmoil and how they're working through it and healing from it. I think that's really essential to be in communities of people who are willing to do that.
So good, man. So good. This is so good. I mean,
it was fun, wasn't it? We do this every time we get together. It's fun.
I just love it. I do. I do. It's so hard. Somebody said the other day they really don't like small talk, and I've never really heard somebody say that out loud. And it just resonated with me because this is the kind of stuff that I love to talk about. But again, this is part of not being able to just be. I love this. It is so good.
Exactly. When I'm coaching people through really intense stuff and they're like, oh man, I'm sorry. It must be hard to kind of talk about this stuff all day. I'm like, are you kidding me? Some people have to make small talk all day. That would drive me up a wall. I get to talk about stuff that matters. It's great.
For sure. For sure. Well, I am looking forward to what is to come.
Yeah.
With your new book and everything that you have going on. If somebody wants to reach out to you, get on the wait list, understand what avenues that you have available to connect with you, where would they go to find that?
Yeah, there's really two routes to find me right now. My website is drkellyflanagan.com. It's drkellyflanagan.com. Or you can also go to my Substack, which is drkellyflanagan.substack.com. Both of those are ways to get connected with me. This book we've been talking about, Road Less Triggered, it's still 9 months out. It doesn't come out till March. I would love to come back on the show and talk to you about it when it's actually finalized. It's still in edits. But if you go to one of those places and say subscribe for free to my weekly Wednesday Wisdom, you'll be sure to get updates about this book. So would love to have you a part of our community.
Love that. And I will absolutely welcome you back on the show so that we can talk about it. Is there an opportunity for me to get an advanced copy so that I can be one of the first people to read it? And then
100%. I'll put you on the list today.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I would
love for you to read it and just to get to deepen our conversation along these lines. That'd be awesome.
For sure. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much.
You bet, man. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Hey guys, Wyatt Graves here. As you know from previous episodes of this show, I'm on a mission to grow a business that has 25,000 doors, a holding company of service-based businesses surrounded by a protective moat of a personal growth and development educational company. With that being said, I am looking for deals, I'm looking for talent, and I'm looking for capital. If you're interested in connecting with me, go to my website, wyattgraves.com. Send us a deal. I will be sure to include you in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're a real estate agent and you want to be my agent, you're welcome to be my agent if you bring the deal to me. If you're not my agent and you bring the deal to me, we will still get you paid somehow, some way. If you want to work inside of our world, then drop me a line, send me an email, connect with me. We're interested in attracting level 5 talent. And then finally, if you are an investor and want to invest your money, not only to get double-digit returns, but also to have real impact inside of the communities as we raise up the level of good life living throughout our properties with our residents, with our employees, with our communities, then I want to connect with you. Go to wyattgraves.com and fill out the contact information, and I will personally be in touch with you so that we can figure out how we can shake the trees together and win together. wyattgraves.com.